Chapter 3. The Head. A free circulation. Before we treat of the head, we must follow blood from the heart to all organs of the head. Not only look at the pictures in Gray, Morris, Gerrish, or some finely illustrated work on anatomy, but we must apply a searching hand and know to a certainty that the constrictors of neck or other muscles or ligaments do not pull cervical and hyoid bones so close as to bruise pneumogastric or any other nerves or fibers that would cause spasmodic contraction of digastric, stylohyoid, or the whole remaining group of neck muscles and ligaments with which you are or should be very familiar. Ever remember that the venous drainage must be kept normally, active or congestion and tumefaction with inflammation of the glands of the head, face, and neck will appear and mark for you this oversight, because the perpetual health, ease, and comfort of the head, beginning with the scalp and hair with their nerves, glands, and purity of blood supply, a healthy eye, good hearing, healthy action of brain with its magnetic and electric forces to the vital parts which sustain life, memory, and reason, depend directly and wholly upon unlimited freedom of the circulatory system of nerves, blood, and cerebral fluid. They must be normal in action and quantity, unembarrassed, otherwise bad hearing, ulcers of the ears, cross eyes, pterygium, cataract, granulated lids, staphyloma, lacrimosis, and up to full list of diseases of the eye, with tonsillitis, injured voice, tumors and cancers of face, head, tongue, and mouth and throat, along with erysipelas, blotches and pimples, and all diseases of the glandular system of the head and neck. Undoubtedly, all these afflictions have their origin in obstructive, normal action between the heart and the termination of all above it for want of nerve and blood harmony. Death blows. Remember that death blows are dealt out freely above the sternum by irritation and constriction of the parts above described. We should often refresh our minds, beginning with the muscles that connect the head and neck, and know to a certainty as we explore that junction that the capitis minor, major, and lateralis, long and short of both anticus and posterior regions, are indisputably normal to your hand and judgment. It is almost useless to say to the anatomist who had the drilling in all branches of that science previous to obtaining his diploma to commence in detail the venous and excretory system, through which all these glands are drained and kept in a healthy condition, but we say this much: let your morning, noon, and evening prayer be this: O Lord, give me more anatomy each day I live, because experience has taught me the unavoidable demands when in the sick room. Something of the neck. Before you leave that wisely constructed neck, I want to press and imprint on your minds in the strongest terms that the wisest anatomist and physiologist, the oldest and most successful osteopath, knows only enough of the neck and its wondrous systems of nerves, blood, and muscles, and its relation to all above and below it, to say, from everlasting to everlasting thou art great, O Lord God Almighty. Thy wisdom is surely boundless, for I see that man must be wise to know all about the neck, for we find by a twist of neck we may become blind, deaf, spasmodic, lose speech and memory, and all that is known as joys of man. On that division of the body, all action of arms, legs, chest, and all muscles get their life, power, and motion. Think for a moment of the thousands and tens of thousands of large and small fluid vessels that pass to and from heart and brain to every organ, bone, fiber, muscle, and gland, both large and small, receiving and appropriating the substances as prepared in the chemical laboratory, so wisely situated and so exact in all its works in the production and application of all substances in the body. Order of treatment. The reader will begin with the brain or head because I want to start with the head. First, give such diseases as belong to that division of the body, then the neck, chest, abdomen, and pelvis. Thus we have 5 divisions in regular order, beginning with the head and finishing with the sacrum. The reader will find diseases of eye, ear, tongue, nose, face, scalp, and hair under the chapter treating of the head. Next, in regular order, will be divisions of the neck, with diseases of tonsils and glands of neck, swallow, trachea, nerves, blood vessels, muscles, fascia, and lymphatics, superior cervical ganglion, and other nerves of the neck, as they affect vitality in diseases. Then we pass on to third division with diseases of lung, heart, pericardium, and pleura, with all parts of the chest. Then abdomen, liver, stomach, and bowels, and all organs, with resisting power of diaphragm. Fifth, pelvis, with its great supply of nerves, blood, and other fluids. These give us cause to halt and seek the mind for a long season of observation. A great field opens at this point for the observing thinker. The pelvis. In the pelvis we find a system of nerves and arteries with blood for a local supply, besides blood to construct womb, bladder, rectum, colon, cellular system, and all the muscles of that cavity, the pelvis, all of which comes from arteries and branches above. We think it is not necessary to name them only in bulk to a student versed in anatomy. Perhaps less is known of the pelvic system and its functions than any division of the body, and for that reason I have felt that we should know all that is possible to be learned. I believe more ignorance prevails today of internal causes of diseases than would if we reasoned that the pelvic nerves and vessels had much to do in forming the abdominal viscera. The brains of animals. Of all parts of the body of man to be well studied, the brain should be the most attractive. It is the place where all force centers, where all nerves connect to one common battery. By its orders, the laboratory of life begins to move on crude material and labors until blood is formed and becomes food for all nerves first. Then arteries and veins, by nerve action and forces to suit each class of work to be done by that set of nerves which is to construct forms, keep blood constantly in motion by the arteries and from all parts back to the heart, through the veins, that the body may be purified, renewed, and re-enter the arteries to be taken to all places of need. Arterial motion. Arterial motion is normal during all ages, from the quick pulse of the babe's arms to the ages of each year to 100 or more. In this great age, the pulse is so slow that the heart is not generated by the nerves, whose motor velocity is not great enough to bring electricity to the stage of heat. All heat, high and low, surely is the effect of active electricity, plus to fever, minus to coldness. When an irritant enters the body by lung, skin, or any other way, a change appears in the heart's action from its effects on the brain to the high electric action and that burning heat called fever. If plus violent type, yellow fever, if minus low grades, typhus, typhoid plagues, and so on through the list. Mental vibrations. To think implies action of the brain. We can grade thought, although we cannot measure its speed. Suppose a person of one kind of business thinks just fast enough to suit that profession. A man is engaged in raising hogs and that alone. We must reason on and of the nature of hogs. He begins about so: a hog eats, drinks, bathes, roots, and sleeps. He knows the hog eats grain, so he feeds it corn and some other suitable cereal, with plenty of water and good bedding. The swine is on his mind night and day. The wheels of thought. Now the question is, how fast does he think? How many revolutions do the wheels of his head make per minute to do all the necessary thinking connected with the hog business? Say his mental wheels revolve 100 times each minute. Then he adds sheep to his business, and if that should require 100 more revolutions, and he takes charge of raising draft horses with 175 revolutions added, you see the wheels of his head whizzing off 375 vibrations per minute. And at this time he adds the duties of the carpenter with 300 more revolutions, then add them together and you see 675. To this number he adds the duties and thoughts of a sheriff, which are numerous enough to buzz his wheels at 1,500 more. You find 2,175 to be his mental revolutions so far. Now you have the great physical demands added to your mental motion, which his brain has to support, yet he can do all so far fairly well.